As they're coming, I'd just like to introduce this dialogue, which I hope we're going to be able to have together. This time last year, I was preparing for my second ever visit to Zimbabwe, and I went with the bishops of Kingston and the Bishop of Southwark to two of the Diocesan Link dioceses, that of Central Zimbabwe and Matabeleland. And I had an absolutely extraordinary time. It was wonderful to meet the people, but it was most especially a real privilege to learn from them and to hear their stories and to experience some of the situations in which they found themselves. And so it's a real privilege for me this morning to be able to talk with three of our guests. I'm sure that Bruce has been very clear with you all. We've been linked here with the cathedral with Masvingo for about 3 years. And so it's a great privilege to have visitors here with us. And I'm going to start first, if that's okay, with Mishek. So Father Mishek, if you'd like to come to over here just a second. There we go. Now, Father Mishek looks after a couple of parishes, but also does lay training in the diocese. And I understand, Mishek, that it's a very, very big diocese. Is that right? Could you tell us a little bit about it, please?
I welcome you all this morning. And before I answer you, we bring you greetings from our Bishop Godfrey and our diocese at large. They send their greetings to you, Southwark Cathedral. We are so grateful for the partnership that we have with you. Yes, our diocese is very big. It's the 5th diocese in Zimbabwe. It was formed out of the 4 dioceses that we have before Masvingo was formed in 2002. It stretches from Bridge to Chivu to Central Zimbabwe, and the work that I do in lay training, we train priests in leadership. We also train lay leaders in leadership. This year we have trained more than 1,200 lay leaders in our diocese. What we've been doing is that we've been training them in general leadership, constitution of the many gifts that we have in our diocese. We have also trained them in everything that has to do with lay leadership in our diocese. The program that we had this year is that we began by training the leaders that we're going to go out and train other leaders in our churches. So we began by what we call training of trainers. That's the first workshop that we had. And then after that, we were going, we visited every other church in our diocese where we did training programs for our leaders. What we covered in this, it was general management, how to be effective leaders in our parishes. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about how often people in the parishes would actually see their priest? Because priests have quite a lot of parishes, don't they? So do they see them each week, and how does that work?
Normally, people don't see their priest every week. Our diocese has parishes. I'll give you an example of where I am based in Chirezi. I have 3 parishes. So I'll take turns to visit these parishes. I hold 2 services each week, which means my congregation will be able to see me twice a month. That's when I can be able to do a mass in the 3 parishes, twice a month. And then in other parishes, we have the biggest parish, I think it has 12 churches. So it's quite difficult for the priest to see his congregation because he has to have a program that he has to set up to make sure that he visits his parish often. And other parishes has as much as six churches. We call them mission district. Others has between 2 and 12, as I say. Mission district, church district, that's the setup. So there's no parish that sees priest every Sunday, except maybe in the cathedral where we now have the dean. That's where they have a priest every Sunday.
And so the lay leaders that you're training, are they then responsible for the services, for the worship that happens on the Sundays when the priest isn't there?
Yes, we have some deacons that help with the preaching, that help with leading the church when the priest is not around. They also do, they also bury the dead when the priest is not around. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. I may come back to you in a minute, but I'm going to move on now. When I was in Zimbabwe, one of the greatest experiences was spending time with the Mothers' Union. I'm not a great dancer, and neither am I a great singer, but I couldn't help but jog around as they were dancing. And I was to be seen jogging so much that the videos that I was taking were a bit wobbly, so I got somebody else videoing today. So it's an especial pleasure to be able now to speak with Amy. One of my abiding memories of the journey was travelling to the far north of one of the dioceses and returning with a live chicken in the back of the car. And I was unfortunate because I hadn't realised that the chicken was actually alive. I thought it was dead. And I was sitting in the back of the car wondering what all this noise was. And it was a chicken. And the reason I mention this is that I know that in your work as Mothers' Union Coordinator, one of the things that you've been helping some of the women think about is chicken farming, because the chicken is a very, very important source of food. So would you like to tell us a little bit about some of that and any other work that you're doing with the Mothers' Union to encourage the women in the diocese in self-sufficiency?
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be part of you today. Greetings from the Mothers' Union of Zimbabwe. I'm the Mothers' Union Coordinator in the Diocese of Masvingo. Our membership is almost 4,000 members, but most of our members are mainly in rural areas where it is drought prone. So that's why we have chicken rearing projects. We do these projects so that we help our members to reduce poverty and fend for their families. Because most of those who are in rural areas are unemployed. They are merely peasant farmers. And because of the drought, we receive scarce rains, so they fail to produce what is enough for their families. So that's why we started income generation projects to these members. So we do chicken rearing to some of our parishes. As a big diocese, we have many parishes, but we can't afford for each parish to have a project. So we are still trying our best so that we cover all the parishes so that they can have chicken rearing and other projects for them to look after their families. Again, in Zimbabwe, most of the families were hardly hit by the AIDS pandemic. So we have a lot of orphans within our diocese. So these members also need support of these orphans. So we do what we call outreach as districts, as churches, and as a diocese, so that we can help these orphans to survive. We help them with food, clothing, school fees, and other means like blackmails. So it's very difficult for our members in rural areas to cater for these orphans, and also help the underprivileged. Some families are child-headed because the parents are all passed away. So we also assist them to get their feeding, to get their clothing, and also the school fees. This is done through the subscriptions from our members and donations also from our members. So it's very difficult for us as mothers women, we can't cater for everyone, but we are trying by all means to reach out where we can. Every time I move along the diocese, meeting our members to find the challenges they are meeting and find solutions how we can solve these challenges. But at times we fail to solve some of the challenges, but we try by all means to do that. Last year, there was an area in Boera where it was hardly hit by drought. Members or the community couldn't get anything for feeding. So we had to buy maize and distribute to our church members. Whether male or female, it was a distribution for everyone so that they can get something to survive. But it wasn't enough, and we couldn't cover all the churches. We tried our best to cover the west areas. As a Mother's Union coordinator, we also have other guilds which are under our arms, the St. Agnes Guild, which caters for girls from 5 years up to marriage. We support that guild with lessons, with them having conference, so that they spiritually grow as they are growing to be mothers of tomorrow. They do their conference once a year. And during the conference, they do different competitions in cooking, sewing, ball games, athletics, and tug of war. This will be helping our girls to become vibrant mothers in future. We want to try by all means to give them with survival skills so that they can be good mothers who can look after their families. We also have the St. Veronica Guild, which caters for single mothers, those who had their husbands dead and those we just get children from anywhere. We give them also survival skills. We encourage them to do projects so that they can look after their children, and they also have conferences and do competitions in cooking and sewing so that they can get something for survival. We also do fundraising as a way of boosting our funds. If you are looking at me, what I am putting on is part of our fundraising. We print materials, we sell. We print t-shirts, we sell. We print a lot of things. Coffee mugs, jerseys, t-shirts, and showers, so that we can boost our funds to create more income generation projects. We also have the peanut butter project, whereby we get groundnuts and they make peanuts and they sell. At times we find market for them, so that we sell it in town where there is market. And also the other projects which I have been talking about. I think that's what we do as Mothers Union.
Thank you very much. Is it true that almost every woman in the churches in the diocese belongs to the Mothers Union in Zimbabwe?
Yes, it's true that every woman in the church is a Mothers Union member.
Well, that's not the same here. Definitely not. and the bishop...
Some are full members, some are not full members. So we can say they want to enroll, but full members are many.
Right, and the bishop's wife is the president of the Mothers Union in your diocese, isn't she?
Yes, she's the president of the Mothers Union in our diocese.
And that's true around all of the dioceses in Zimbabwe, as I understand it. And the work they do is really, really impressive. So thank you ever so much indeed. And I'm ever so pleased that I don't wear a uniform because of that, because I look a bit silly, but the clothing is just brilliant that you all have, so that's wonderful. Now, I'd like to just finish by having a few words with Matthias, if that's okay. Matthias, you're the Director of Education there, and I think you've got 23 schools. When I was there last year, the children were just incredible. They were so eager to learn, all of the children in the church schools, and the classes were so big. And there was really, in comparison to our schools here, I was struck by how few resources you had, but by what wonderful work was being done. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the work that the schools do in Masvingo.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Greetings to you all. I bring you greetings from the Diocese Education Board and from the Bishop of Masvingo, Bishop Godfrey and wife. Within the Diocese of Masvingo, we have 23 schools, like what Wendy said. 17 are primary schools and 6 are secondary schools. We do holistic education as such, though not necessarily we are able to cover that on our own. By holistic education, I'm looking at all the components that have to do with the formation of the child. Education being a right to every child of school-going age. We look at the moral aspect, the academic, the social, the religious aspect, and all that has to do with the full formation of the human being within our schools. We also cover the component that has to do with the infrastructural development of our schools. Thus, we look at the availability of a conducive teaching environment, that is the school buildings themselves that we do have in our institutions. They are not as good enough as the school facilities we do have here. Let me be very honest. We still have schools that, to a certain extent, you can say, they appear to be mediocre. Some are in the resettlement area where we have mud and poor setups, but we're trying to squeeze up the environment that suits a learning situation for our students. Some students in our schools do not have furniture, sufficient furniture to be very precise. Some do sit on the floor without a carpet, not tiled as we see here. Some are crowded in our schools. So what I'm simply saying in a synopsis is the diocese has a big social responsibility towards the communities which are within it, including the schools themselves. The teaching materials are not sufficient, although UNICEF has to a certain extent supported us. But I thank you very much for the contribution that you made to one of its schools, Ramombe Primary. One or the other, one of you maybe, made a contribution towards the procurement of the furniture to the school, which was handed over by Sylvia Morris then when she was still the head teacher of the Cathedral Primary School. We also want to thank you for the partnership that subsists between the Cathedral Primary School and the Ramombe Primary School in our diocese. Despite the bullish and villain attitude of Kunonga, who is currently disturbing a conducive teaching and learning environment at the primary school back in our country, we, however, thank you for your contribution. I'm very optimistic that the time of reckoning for Kunonga is coming so close and the school is going to be all right. Our students feel so psychologically abused by the present situation. We thank you for your support and still we look forward to your continued partnership, not only with Ramombe but with so many of our schools which are less privileged. We have quite a number of them, some of them secondary schools, whereby you find a lot of the students that drop out of school because they don't have school fees, they don't have money to buy uniforms, unless otherwise we have the privilege, like what Eileen was saying. Maybe the parents are involved in some projects or some other. They get to generate some income to pay towards the education of the child, the dressing of the child as such, in terms of the uniform. Because education is not free as it may be, maybe primary level. A child pays maybe each term something like £30 towards the education at primary level. At secondary level, it depends on the nature of the school, whether it's a trust school or a high school or just an ordinary upper top. But it ranges around £100 thereabout, their fees for secondary school going children.
And how many of your schools are boarding schools?
Boarding schools?
Yes.
We have one boarding school, which is Ramombe High School, and the rest are just day schools.
And the children walk quite long distances to get to the school?
Yes, they walk, some walk for more than 10 kilometers to get to the nearest school. The shortest distance that pupils can walk to the nearest school is 5 kilometers, unless otherwise if your location is closer to the school. But the furthest distance to the nearest school, maybe 10, 15, 20 kilometers. I'm looking at one of those schools like Chidzikwe Secondary School, where we have pupils who walk for about 18 kilometers to get to the secondary school to have their education. There is no transport like we do. We have trains here, fast trains, like we have buses that do frequent the roads, something like that. So, you see, they have to walk on foot to the nearest school. Either those who are a little bit privileged, they have bicycles, maybe to cycle, but you may find there may be 10 out of 500 pupils in the ratio of something else.
Thank you. We need to stop now, although I could keep asking questions for the rest of the morning, but you will have another opportunity a bit later on to ask some of your own questions of our three guests. I hope we've been able to give you a little picture of how different, but how wonderful the Diocese of Masvingo is. I'm hoping one day to actually get to that diocese as well. But please do, as we move on through this service and in the week, both remember everybody that we've got here but out in the diocese in your prayers, and do please remember later on in the service to give generously when there's the opportunity for our Link diocese. So thank you very much at this moment for your help and for your interesting talks. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.